Let me share with you this story I came up with for the purposes of this video. So there was a fisherman who came into this new town, and there was one important rule in this town of fishermen. You don't go fishing on a Wednesday. And so this man came in like on a Tuesday, and he really needed to have some cash. So he decided he's going to go fishing on a Wednesday, despite all the discouragements from his newfound pals. So he put to sail, he went on and he started fishing. And the reason there was one rule: you don't fish on Wednesday, because there was this mythical storm that came raging in the sea by the coast every Wednesday. And no fisherman had ever gone on Wednesday, met that storm, and come back alive. And so this fisherman, he set sail, and in the midst of his fishing, everything is going well until the perfect time when the storm shows up, 3 p.m. And then he has to start battling for his life. So he realizes that the more he struggles to overcome the storm and struggle to head for shore, the more the storm rages against him. And going against the storm, he sees that he's actually straining his boat, his ship, to its limit. And one of the major reasons why he really wanted to get to shore before dark was because it was probably going to be difficult for him to find his way back home in this new town that he just found. So after struggling for a while and seeing that every effort was putting him more at risk, he resolved one thing: that the most important thing was for him to survive the storm. Whether he got home at midnight or he got home the next day, he just had to keep cool, forget about the catch, forget about the other things that are putting him pressure to act against the storm, and just focus on surviving the storm. And so he hangs there and just lets the storm carry him. So he kind of moves with the storm. It takes him all over the place, and sometime at night, say 9 p.m., he finds himself way off the direction. He didn't even know exactly where he was, but the storm had stopped raging, and for the first time in history, he had survived the storm. And so after a couple of days trying to navigate and figure out his path, he met some other fishermen now who had come fishing, and then they realized, oh, this is the guy who had already performed a funeral for him, and he's still alive. Wow, what a miracle. And so they helped tow him back to the shore, and he had to share the story. And the only difference that separated him from the other fishermen that died was that he stopped struggling to fight the storm and just focused on surviving and outlasting the storm. So what's the lesson we get from this story? There are two kinds of problems in life. There are problems you solve, the common ones that we know about, and there are problems we outlast. Now, humans are very good with solving problems. We have been able to live in hot regions or cold regions, or solve basic appliances problems, or come out of different challenges. Even in our daily lives, we actually go about solving problems. But the second kind of problems have always wreaked havoc in humans and human relationships. When you struggle to solve a problem for a while and you're unable to find a solution, instead of quitting, which is what the other fishermen before this man did, probably gave up on their fate of survival and thought they were never going to make it. After you've struggled to find a solution and you can't, start thinking on outlasting the problem. So technically you don't solve it. The problem comes like the storm. It rages. What it expects of you is to quit. What it expects of you is to give up. What it expects of you is to do something rash, make a rash decision that you cannot repair afterwards. And once you've done it, the storm goes, and then you think the storm conquers you. No, you let the storm push you. What you had to simply do was to outlast the storm. Think about it. How many marriages could have been saved if the people involved were just patient for another 1 or 2 years? One partner could look like they're going out of their mind, and you may want to quickly make rash decisions like a divorce, which you'll be unable to repair. But sometimes just separation for a while, and then you realize the nuts and screws that were losing in their heads come back. How many people have given up on children because they probably started frequenting the wrong kind of people, and then giving up on them just makes them, okay, my family has rejected me, and so they just go all wild. What if the family had hung in there and believed that probably this is just something seasonal, and let's just hope with time these people will come back, outlast that season, outlast that problem. A typical attribute of problems that are to be outlasted is that they always come with an important lesson, an important message. And I think the number one even is to tell us that we cannot control everything. Perhaps God throws this kind of problems into our lives, to kind of humble us. We are good and proud of being self-made. We fix every challenge. We solve everything. But you can't solve an economic crisis. If there is a national or global economic crisis, the only thing you can do is hang in there with your business to outlast that season of crisis and emerge, just like outlasting the storm. So think about it now for a moment. What are the things you look in retrospect now and think you probably left too soon? There are people who have missed great business opportunities or big business upturns because they didn't just hang in there long enough to quit. I'll end with this instruction that Jesus gave in Luke 11 when he was talking about prayer. Suppose you went to a friend's house at midnight wanting to borrow 3 loaves of bread. You say to him, "A friend of mine just arrived for a visit and I have nothing for him to eat." And suppose he calls out from his bedroom, "Don't bother me, the door is locked for the night and my family and I are in bed already. I can't help you." But I tell you this, though he won't do it for friendship's sake, if you keep knocking long enough, he will get up and give you whatever you need because of your shameless persistence. Remember, if you keep knocking long enough, there are many challenges in your life now which the storm wants you to quit. What you need to do is to keep knocking long enough, to hang in there long enough, to stay strong long enough, to just weather the storm long enough. And before you know it, it is over and you're emerging victorious, not because you tamed or conquered the storm, but simply because you outlasted the storm. One of the big mistakes we make is that we are more focused on how we weather the storm than on actually weathering the storm. You see, the fisherman had to clarify what was the priority. It was more about surviving than how he actually survived. So sometimes in the midst of problems, you have to clarify what is your objective and your priority. King famously said, if you can't run, you walk. If you can't walk, you crawl. But what is important is that you keep moving. If you're making progress, that is already good enough. Stop bothering so much about how you weather the storm and focus more on actually weathering the storm. Do you have any personal stories of situations where you quit too soon, of which all you needed to do was to simply hang in there and outlast the storm? Please share in the comments below so we can all learn from you. So I hope this inspires you, this blesses you. If you really enjoyed it, then smash that like button and subscribe. Hit that bell if you're new to this channel so you don't miss the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all our patrons for supporting this video. You too can support this channel. The link is in the video description below. I'm Buddha's Jumesi. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.